Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rolene Marks, and this is the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land, where you get your top stories from Israel every Monday to Thursday. So let's get on with those top stories, and it has been a very busy two-day visit so far for US President Biden. Last night, the president was interviewed on Israeli TV, and in an interview, he addressed the issue of Iran, saying that force is the last resort, something that Prime Minister Lapid seemed to disagree with during a press conference earlier today, where he said diplomacy will not deter Iran and that Iran will not go nuclear. The president also addressed the issue of Democratic Party members like the Squad, who have used terminology like apartheid when referring to Israel. He said, there are some people in my party who are using that kind of language, and they are wrong. Now, the president got off to an early start this morning when he met with Prime Minister Yair Lapid. The two leaders signed the joint Jerusalem Declaration, increasing and improving on strategic cooperation between the two countries, especially with regards to regional threats like Iran. A little later after that, Israel was joined by the United States, President Modi from India, and Mohammed bin Zayed, the president of the United Arab Emirates, for a telephonic summit. This historical summit discussed ways that the countries would sign a memorandum of understanding and agree to cooperate on food, security, and energy. I think all countries at the moment are being driven to the brink with the inflation as a result of the rising energy crisis. The president will then go on to meet with the leader of the opposition, Benjamin Netanyahu, and after that he will receive the Medal of Honor for his dedication to working for the State of Israel by President Isaac Herzog. After that, the president already has a jam-packed day, will meet US participants participating in the Maccabi Games, and he will be at the opening ceremony a little later tonight. Now, of course, we have heard from Ismail Haniyeh of Hamas. He's the leader of Hamas. He has given his opinion to the Hebrew press, saying all of President Biden's efforts to integrate Israel into the region will fail. He says clearly regional leaders stand with the Palestinians. Well, I'm not sure if he has been watching the Israel brief, but we have reports quite to the contrary, like this one. Saudi Arabia have approved the overflight of flights coming from Israel to destinations like India, China, and other parts of the world. This is a significant development, not just in slow-growing relations between the two countries, but also in the amount of travel time that travelers will take on their flights between the countries. And hopefully it will only improve the back pocket of people forking out large amounts of money for those long-haul flights. The Saudis have also approved direct flights from Israel to Saudi Arabia for the Muslim holy festival of Hajj. Now, what is also interesting, and for me, the barometer is not necessarily the agreement signed yet between leaders, but more what is happening on the ground. Now, earlier this week, a Saudi magazine had 3 Arab-Israeli members of the IDF, soldiers, proud soldiers, serving in the IDF on their front cover with a very positive story inside. This is contrary to reports you hear in maybe Western countries that never pass up the opportunity to attack Israel's army. Now, a group of 50 businessmen who went on a very quiet visit to Saudi Arabia and who have returned to Israel, saying that it's not a matter of if but when relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia will normalize. Of course, we understand that this might take quite an amount of time, but I don't know. If any of you are like me, we are so here for normalization with Saudi Arabia. Now, on the subject of the IDF, we have to say a huge mazal tov to Major Or Livni. Livni becomes the first woman in IDF history who will command a border defense unit. She is being promoted within the unit that she serves, which is Karakal, which is a mixed male and female unit. She will be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Bahatzlacha, soon to be Lieutenant Colonel Livni. We know you're going to keep our borders safe. And our final story takes us to the opening of the Maccabi Games taking place in the Teddy Kollek Stadium in Jerusalem tonight. Boy, oh boy, do I feel sorry for anybody living in Jerusalem right now, having to contend with those traffic jams. If it isn't President Biden, it's the opening games. But opening games they are. The Jewish Olympics are here. And we would like to wish all participants the greatest of luck. And because I'm based here in Modi'in, I have to share this little known fact with you. The Maccabi Games are named after the Maccabees, and the Maccabees, many of you are familiar, the story of Hanukkah, come from right here where I am, Modi'in, the city of the Maccabees, and the story of Hanukkah. So that brings us to the end of today's broadcast. Please don't forget you can join us online on our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook community is at Lottel Site. Like us, follow us, share our content. We are having a few issues with Facebook censor, so if you see us, please share us. We're on YouTube at The Israel Brief, where we are growing thanks to you. So if you haven't already subscribed, please click on that red subscribe button, and hey, invite your friends too as well. That way we get the news stories from Israel out to as many people as possible that you won't hear in the mainstream media. And we're on Twitter, and you can find us at Lay of the Land 5. So with that, I want to wish you all a peaceful, a safe, a healthy weekend from all of us to all of you. And Shabbat Shalom. And don't forget to join me on Monday as I bring you those top stories making those headlines right here in Israel.